moving on to the second game. Now, Gen Z decided to basically go with an AP champion in the bottom lane, although we have not used Ruler to play this type of champions like Ziggs, Syndra, Victor in the bottom lane, because Ruler was always the main carry of his team, but now that Gen Z have built this super team roster, they have multiple strong lanes, so they can play around Chovy, they can play around Doran, so this gives them more flexibility to go with his picks, because for me, I mean, we all know the Ziggs pick and Leona, what it offers. It's a very good answer to Aphelios. It's also a very good trading tool, because even if Gen Z fall behind in the early game, they can give up Herald, and Ziggs is a champion who can actually deal a lot of damage to the enemy turret, so they can trade Herald for tower in the bottom lane. I mean, we all know Ziggs' advantages and disadvantages in a draft, but what makes it more interesting is that now that Gen Z have all of this flexibility, it's gonna make them more unpredictable, because now Ruler is not gonna be the type of AD carry who's playing only, you know, the strong AD carries of the meta, like Misfortune, Jinx, and all of these like hyper carry champions. So that's an interesting thing. So obviously, because Chovy wanted to pick Corki against that LeBlanc, again, it's the same thing like with Victor, volatile matchup, but Chovy always finds ways to win priority in the lane. And again, I think he also played with Minion Dematerializer, because he went with First Strike in his rune page. And yeah, other than that, we have usual picks, Graves in the top lane as a safe option. And on the other hand, DRX, they went with Aphelios early on. The thing is, I don't know why they didn't pick Thresh with Aphelios. Probably, like, the thing is, Thresh can actually counter Leona's engages with his Flay, and is the best support that matches well with Aphelios. Like, they showed their mid laner very early in the game. LeBlanc could be counterpicked from Gen Z, even though Chovy went with Corki. But yeah, I'm not sure why they picked LeBlanc here instead of Thresh, because that's what usually teams do. They choose jungler and the bottom lane in the first 3 picks. So they went with Nautilus. I mean, they didn't pick Thresh even in the second pick phase, because it was not banned, so it was available as a pick anyway. And they went with Gwen in the top lane. So I think that Gwen is the only, let's say, bruiser champion that it is played in a competitive game, even though there are other strong bruisers available. But basically, we've seen a lot of teams going with this champion, and that's why they banned Jace here, because Jace is the best pick so far against Gwen in the top lane. So again, once again, I wouldn't give a huge draft advantage to neither of these teams. I just think that DRX composition is a bit harder to execute, because they have to go first. Like, they have to start the engage, they have to find the flank positions, where on the other hand, Gen Z can play a lot with poke. They have to, let's say, marksman champions in Corki and Graves. They have their magic damage dealer as well. They have strong CC and a nice engage with Lee Sin and Leona. But yeah, even if the game doesn't go their way, they can actually play the kite and the peeling really well. Or on the other hand, DRX with his team composition, it is built to find basically picks. So that's why I'm saying that they have to go first and they have to find picks. And in situations when you play against, you know, super teams like Gen Z, usually on paper it's much harder to do that, like and in action, of course. So again, we are going to focus on the first 10 minutes, because that's where we see junglers pathing and how teams are setting vision for the first herald and such. So first, if you're watching the runes, you can see that Chovy indeed, once again, he picked Minion's Dematerializer in order to gain priority in the mid lane. I remember when Showmaker was playing LeBlanc during Worlds, sometimes he was starting with Longsword and Refillable, because LeBlanc in the first 3 levels usually has, she doesn't have a strong wave clear, so she can't gain a priority as a mid laner. So yeah, I remember Showmaker was picking long short and then he was selling it. But Zeka, or actually not just Zeka, but most of the players, they want this sustain. And as I was talking, I want to show you this, let's say, unpredictable pathing from DRX, from Piosik, and that's why I want to focus on these first minutes of the game, because basically, as you know, the usual clear is blue Gromp Wolves and then on his top side. But in this situation, he didn't even path on his top side. He pathed, he came actually behind Chovy, and this gank was very good because Chovy only like barely managed to get level 3. Like when this gank started, Chovy was level 2 and he just barely got level 3. But this didn't matter because DRX managed to pull off this smart gank from Piosik and they took first blood. But again, because because Chovy is playing with minion dematerializer, he's gonna gain the priority back. And now on the other side, we're gonna see a trade kill for Gen Z, where basically Peanut also started on his blue buff, so he pathed towards bottom lane. And to me, when I saw this initially, it was a very risky play because, well, actually it's not, because both Ruler and Lehens are level 3, where Deft and Beryl are still level 2. So yeah, if Deft and Beryl were level 3, this would be a risky dive, in my opinion, because Gen Z, like, even though Gen Z are pushing and are crashing the wave, basically the next wave just arrived for DRX, so basically they don't have a clear, let's say, ways to engage. But again, because Deft and Beryl are still level 2, Gen Z managed to make a clean dive. Well, not so clean because they basically traded one kill, but later on, like here, they managed to also kill Beryl, and both Ruler and Peanut escaped. So nice kill for Gen Z. And this is the so-called 1-2 punch, where basically one team ganked in the mid lane, they grabbed the kill, the other jungler is ganking on the other side of the map that he pathed, and basically they trade kills. Obviously, this kill from DRX was more important because it was the first blood, and you get the additional gold for the first blood. But this was also a very nice dive. And yeah, they only lost Lehens, who basically had to take all of the aggro. And then again, they played it really nicely against Beryl. I mean, Peanut had to burn his flash, but he lived. And now we're gonna watch the next 5 minutes of the game. So basically, Piosik was desperately trying to gain some information on where Peanut was in the map, because again, DRX are not so good at using vision advantage, just like Gen Z did in the previous game. So here, Piosik finally managed to track down Peanut, but by doing this, he's putting himself behind in terms of camps and in terms of tempo. And here we're gonna have a 2 versus 2 exchange, which is going to be won from Gen Z, and Peanut didn't even have to be there. I mean, even if Peanut is not here, Gen Z would still kill Beryl, obviously. And yeah, basically by Piosik trying desperately to find information on where Peanut is, he's basically using himself as a tracking vision, let's say. So, and by that, he lost a lot of camps and he lost a lot of tempo. So now pay attention to where Piosik is going. So obviously he can't find something in the bot lane. The fight was over. It was won from Gen Z. He pathed from mid again. Chovy is pushed on his turret, so he can't gank him. And now his third option is to obviously try something in the top lane. And he is gonna try to find a pick on Doran. But Doran is completely covered with this control ward. Lehens is shadowing him as well. And now pay attention to Nautilus. Pay attention to Beryl and Piosik. So this is a similar trap that Gen Z did that in the first game, where they tried to kill Xin Zhao. So because Beryl stayed here to help Piosik, you know, have control over this blue side jungle of Peanut and steal his blue buff safely, now Beryl, by helping his jungler, now he's behind on tempo. So you can see that Lehens is already moving in the bottom lane, and we are 40 seconds, or actually 30 seconds before Herald, which means that both teams want to have priority in the bottom lane, either to trade Herald for some turret plates or to rotate to contest Herald. So because Lehens have this small tempo, he was first in the lane, he cleared this vision, and he also helped Ruler gain priority over the lane, and Beryl just arrived because Beryl took more time in order to help Piosik steal Peanut's blue earlier and to cover him basically. So now, as you can see, Gen Z, they managed to gain bot priority, so now they can move easily, they can rotate easily and contest this first Herald, which is gonna be started from Peanut, and of course, he doesn't care that he was spotted from two visions, from the Scuttle vision and the control ward. He knows that they have priority in actually all three lanes, which is usually not a very usual thing to see. And Deft, it's too late for him to trade Herald for the tower plates because he had to push the wave all the way from his tower to the enemy tower. And not only that, not only he can't trade the Herald for the tower plates, he got dived here from Chovy, solo kill. He came from the base with the packets and managed to kill him. So all of this again started from this small tempo advantage that Lehens had. So it seems here that he was the one in trouble, but then he left. Gen Z know that they can't contest this blue buff, but because Beryl had to stay longer and help Piosik get this blue buff, you see Leona is already moving from the mid lane. Now he's closer to the bottom lane, so I'm gonna put it in double speed again. You see now Beryl is on the mid lane, but Lehens is already in the bottom lane, so Deft cannot push this wave back. Lehens helped Ruler push this wave, they got this control ward, and that's how Gen Z crashed almost 2 waves into DRX, 1.5 waves actually, and they managed to rotate for this first Herald. And again, look at how Deft, he had to push actually 2 waves, and he didn't even manage to get even 1 tower plate. And not only that, as he was trying to do that, he was dived from Chovy here, and he got killed. So again, the small things that make the difference, and it's not that DRX made a huge mistake, but just this small tempo that Lehens had, they took this priority in the bottom lane, they rotated, took Herald, and now because DRX had to reset basically, now Gen Z also made another play in the top lane and they killed Kingen, and also took, I think, two tower plates if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, many small victories all around the map. So first the Herald, then Deft only barely managed to take 1 tower plate, but it's not worth. He got killed from Chovy, which made it even worse, and the last piece in the cake is this gank in the top lane, where they managed to also kill Kingen and take tower plates. So as you can see, 3k gold difference for Gen Z. And from that point on, Gen Z managed to take down all tier 1 turrets, so they had priority constantly on the map. Here Peanut tried to steal this dragon, but he didn't manage to do so. But Gen Z managed to follow up and they won this teamfight. But the reason they did this, I'm not gonna pause in the teamfight, but what do we usually do at this point? We count the items. Now the thing is, it's not the 20 minutes of the game, so usually we always, you know how I like to talk about this item spike advantage, where one team has this item advantage over the other team. So because it's not the 20 minutes of the game, usually that's where the players from one team manage to complete their second item, and I'm not counting boots, I'm talking about mythic and legendary items. So we're not there yet, but you can still see that, for example, Gen Z have 1.5 items completed and DRX have 1 item complete, which is not the biggest power spike advantage in the game, but it's still an advantage, and that's why Gen Z, even though they lost the objective, they know that they have half an item advantage, and that's why they forced this team fight after DRX took the dragon, and they managed to win it actually. Just because they have, like from that 3k gold lead, basically all of their players had half an item advantage against their opponents, and especially after the gold that they gained from this team fight. Now they're gonna have, you can already see that Graves completed Bloodthirster, so now he has 2 completed items and Kingen has 1.5. So in the next 5 minutes, Gen Z will know that again they will have the strongest power spike in the game in terms of items. And when you are forcing team fights with this item spike advantage, that's when you snowball the game hard, and usually that's when the game ends, like 80% the game ends. So again, the replay from that team fight. We don't need to analyze much. I think that both teams played properly what they should based on the draft, but Gen Z had this advantage. And now this is gonna be the game-changing moment. This is where Gen Z won game number 2, because in the previous fight, again, the difference on items was actually it was 1.5 to 1, which is not, you know, the biggest power spike. But now they managed to get this, which is the strongest power spike in the game. So you see, Graves has completed 2 items, Kingen has 1.5, and the rest of the players also have 1.5 completed. But because Graves is the strongest at this point, they know that if they fight again 5 versus 5, they can win the team fight based on the damage, based on the item spike advantage. And that's exactly what they did. That's why they're forcing this team fight. Because if you look at it on paper, you can see here that basically they don't have a lot of vision on DRX jungle, so it's very risky for them to basically face check. However, they know that they can force a team fight and they can win if they force a team fight. So actually let me forward it a bit. And because they constantly have priority in all 3 lanes, they can always go first into the enemy jungle and try to check clear vision, place their own wards. And yeah, like I said, Chovy here got poked hard, but they know that they have this advantage. And they're not gonna have this advantage for a long time, because DRX are constantly defending. They're constantly bouncing the waves back to Gen Z. So by doing this, they're getting a lot of gold as well, which means that in the next 2 or 3 minutes, they will also complete their second item. And again, both teams will be equal in terms of item spikes. So that's why here Gen Z are trying to invade, they're trying to find some picks, they're trying to force a team fight. And yeah, they're doing their best. And you see, yeah, they stole the enemy jungle buff, so because they know that they have this advantage. And now they finally got what they wanted, so they finally found the teamfight. And not only just a teamfight, they actually found, let's say, the weakest member of DRX, like the person who is left behind most, which is Kingen in this case. And yeah, like I said, they know that they had this small window with this item spike advantage, and they took full advantage of it. Nice kick from Peanut. They almost aced DRX, and from that point on, you can see the goal difference is almost 10k in favor of Gen Z. And after that, they took Baron, they continued snowballing the game, and after 5 minutes, they managed to finish game 2. So it was both games were very nice victories for Gen Z. And I'm happy to see finally that a super team roster is so successful. I mean, it's just the first game, it's just the first week, but they played very well, especially with their priorities. That was their biggest take from this game in terms of macro. How well Gen Z managed to basically, in the first game, they utilized vision control very well, and in the second game, they took advantage of the lane's priority and the rotations. So I'm gonna leave you with this replay from the most deciding teamfight of the game. There was one more teamfight after that, but it was inside DRX base, and it was with 10k gold difference. You can't turn the game around. So yeah, I'm gonna stop the video after the replay. So nice victory for Gen Z, in both games. And yeah, you see, Doran doesn't care. He knows that he's so fed, and he's just zoning them, and he doesn't care. So yeah, thanks for watching. GG.